Hi, let's talk about propagation and rooting of Hoyas. So I have already made a video on how to propagate Hoyas using seeds, and you can just browse on the playlist, on the Hoya playlist, and so that you can easily locate it. So what we have here is the other propagation method. They have here the layering method. So it simply means that you allow the part of the stem to root. So the Hoya will gain roots somewhere else in the stem, and then once that root grows, you can cut it off from its mother plant. So this crinkled 8 here have made this stem, and this stem grow roots here on this particular node here, and I have already cut it off from its original roots. So now it is growing healthy because it is already a live plant, and I have placed another coconut husk here so that this root will cling to this coconut husk, and once that Hoya clings to it, cling to this coconut husk, I can also separate it from this Hoya here, and that would give me many plants later on. So this is the safest way to propagate a Hoya, because you are actually propagating it while the plant is alive. It is much safer than the cutting method and the seed propagation method. So I have also done it here on this Hoya silata. These two plants, I bought them together, so they actually cost a lot for me, because these two Hoyas arrive with just 3 leaves here and 4 leaves here for the concholate. But really looking for this silata, because I was actually completing the Pubicalix and the Pubicarola varieties. So I also placed the coconut husk here, so hoping that this silata will make some roots here so that I can have them propagate as fast as I can. So the next method, so we already have the video for the seeds, and this one is the layering method, the safest method. So we now proceed to the most common method of propagating a Hoya, which is the cutting method. So the most common way of propagating a Hoya, and the most accessible one, is the cutting propagation method. So you just need to cut the part of the Hoya and then root it. So that is the challenge in this kind of method, because you cut it off from its mother plant and it has no roots. So just remember, when you do the seeds and cutting method, the requirement must be bright and indirect sunlight. So there should be no direct sunlight, especially the non-time sunlight, because it is very, really harsh. And the second requirement is it has to be always moist. So I have 3 carnosas here, this 1, 3, and as you can see, I have the holes about 1 inch from the bottom. So this means that I always have about 1 inch water here. This will supply water to the rest of the plot, and don't worry about this water here, it will actually help a lot to the plants. As you can see, this plant here is growing well, and this one is quite new compared to these other plants. And as you can see, these other plants of carnosas are growing very healthy. So this is the first way of rooting a cutting, which is direct to the pot. So let's go to the other method of rooting a Hoya cutting. Okay, So this is the second method that I use here for rooting a Hoya cutting. This is an open box. I have the hole 1 inch from the bottom of the pot. However, I think this particular box here is already clogged at the holes at the bottom. That is why yesterday the water actually is quite high because it rained during the evening. So I actually poked the hole so that the water can come out. But as you can see, these although there are some water sometimes here, the Hoya are growing well. I have the new growths here, and these are already ready for transplanting to its permanent pot. However, I still don't have pots now, so they stay here for a while. In this other pot, I have the crassicalis here. These particular Hoyas here are Propagate and the Nicholsoni. So yeah, this is the second way of rooting a cutting. So this is also another one here. I have another one here. This is a closed box. So in the closed box, there are only limited Hoyas that can grow well in the closed box, and the Imbricata does well here. So although the growth is actually much faster with the other pots that I planted outside, but this one here in this box are alive. Sometimes the one that I place directly in the pot there are already some of them that are dead, but the ones that have survived have grown some new stems. So the one that I place here are still don't have new stems, but it appears that they are growing well. So when you place the Imbricata in this kind of situation, you just place it above the cutting medium, so it must not actually grow to the wet surface, just a little above that wet surface. And another Hoya that needs to be in a closed propagation box is the Hoyapichi. So the Hoyapichi is quite difficult to root in an open pot, in an open environment pot. So you need to place it first in a closed propagation box like this, and then once the roots are already very stabilized, you can transfer it to a permanent pot. And I have actually struggled very much in the Hoyapichi. Although the Hoyapichi, like the ones there at the pot, the top, they are actually very difficult to kill. So they can survive even though the leaves are already very dry, and then you place it in a propagation box. They can survive again in 2 weeks to 1 month. The leaves will grow well. However, so they need a closed propagation box like this one. So this is the this is the second and the third way of rooting a cutting, the open box and in the closed box. So let's go to the last one that I am using here. So this is another method of rooting a Hoya. As you can see, I still have the seeds here, the Hoya that I propagated from seeds, and then this new Propagate and Nicholsoni here have been here for about 1 month. And this one here was there. I have the coconut husk. I place the cutting inside the coconut husk and then place it here in this screens here, and then there's a 1 inch water below. So it is basically water propagation with the coconut husk. And I'm using the coconut husk so that when I place it in the permanent pot, the roots will no longer be disturbed, or there will be the a very least disturbance in the roots. So the disturbance in the roots is a very little, and that will have them survive well. So as you can see here, see, this is a Nicholson. As you can see that the roots are very good here. So they are already ready for transplanting, and I just need some pots. I need to acquire some pots. So however, it is quite difficult right now. So yeah, so that's it. Those are the ways of rooting a Hoya, of rooting and propagating a Hoya that I am using here in my garden. Click subscribe and notification bell to keep you updated with my next uploads. Thank you for watching.